Is that you, Dexter Kennedy?
That is Mark Aiston. Nice to see you.
Mate, how are you? Isn't this wonderful we can do this? I mean, we couldn't have done this 50 years ago when you played your first league game.
And there was no mobile phones around then too, which is even better.
Yeah, how are you, mate?
It's fantastic, modern technology.
Yeah, how you go? What? Hang on, what's that photo in the background?
I should have taken that down. That's a photograph that used to hang in one of the bars at the old football park. Fortunately, Jan Day, who worked there at SNFL, rang me one day and said she had it.
Yeah.
Would I like it? So I'm very, very grateful for that. So I brought it home, hung it there, and it's been there ever since.
What, you didn't hang it just for this interview, did you?
No, I'm not. I've been called a big head before, but I'm not quite there.
Mate, it looks a bit skew-if. You always had a problem with your eyesight.
Well, exactly right. It is a bit crooked, mate. Some people might say it's a bit like me, a bit skew-if.
Hey, can you believe it's 50 years ago? What's today? Sunday. It was 50 years ago yesterday, Dex.
Yesterday, correct. I was sitting in bed yesterday morning and got up, had a cup of coffee and looked through your phone as you do. And as you know, Malcolm Ashwood, who does a lot of SNFL sort of stuff, I saw a post from him that it was Rick Davies. It was 50 years since he first started his league career. And I thought to myself, I reckon that's about the time I started. And I looked it up, and it was. And it was a great surprise to me that Rick, who's a friend and obviously an adversary and also played a lot of state football with Rick, that he started the same day. Until yesterday, I had no idea he started the same day as me.
Well, I mean, I haven't seen you for a couple of years, but you're still looking really fit. And just getting back to Rick for a second, with all that weight he's lost, he's done a remarkable job, hasn't he?
Yes. I spoke to him a couple of years ago at the Past Player Show. Yeah, he made a decision in life, and which is good for him. And he looks extremely well. And as we all know, great player, fantastic bloke, and a very, very funny man.
Oh, very funny. Hey, Dex, can you remember getting the phone call or how you were told that you were playing your first game? I know it's a long time ago, but can you remember?
It's a long time ago. Well, actually, I do remember. It was a Thursday night after training. We were walking off the ground in the weed. Murray Wiedemann, of course. Once again, my coach and almost like a second father to me, up to me as I was walking off the ground and said, you better shine your boots up when you get home.
Wow.
To him, he said, was you playing in the league side this week? And I had no idea. I was a kid. He'd come down from Port Augusta the year before in '69 and had no, I was obviously aspired to play league football, but I was fortunately playing a bit of reserves footy then. I went straight into reserves and had no idea. So, and then from then I went home. The advertiser came around, and obviously set up by the club, and took a photograph, and as I say, the rest is history.
And you were 15 years?
Years, 11 months, a couple of days, yeah. My birthday is the 7th of June, which is coming up.
15 years of age, Dexter. That's what sort of kid were you? I mean, were you just a kid then, or had you matured quickly because you were playing reserves and that sort of stuff?
No, well, maturity. It's hard to say. I was a young lad who left Port Augusta. My parents. Interesting, my parents, great people, were Methodist. No, Dad didn't drink, Mum didn't drink. And I just played footy. I was a late starter because my dad wouldn't let me play football. He thought it was too rough. And I was a cyclist. And as a kid, all I wanted to do was ride the Tour de France. But I grew too tall, obviously. And obviously seeing the Tour de France on telly, I'm very, very glad I did grow tall. It looked like hard work. So, I don't know. I wouldn't say I was mature. I was just fortunate enough I was tall. I was reasonably mobile. And I was fortunate enough with Murray Wiedemann. And actually, I rang him yesterday. And I'm actually going to catch up with him in a couple of weeks' time to thank him, because obviously it was his decision.
Yeah.
Put me in as a young fella. Ports at Alberton, I could have got killed. But he stuck in it, and I ended up playing, I think, 3 games that year. Yeah.
Isn't that extraordinary? And can you remember what you told Mum and Dad when you were in?
Well, actually, I really don't. I don't even know if I rang them. Somebody must have told me, but I know that the Transcontinental, which is a local paper in Port Augusta, took a photograph of Mum, Dad, and my younger sister Janelle. So I really don't think I did tell them myself. I was boarding at Ginny Luke's place, in the legendary Ginny and Donnie Luke.
Oh, yeah.
I may have rang them. Though I don't think it was natural. Mum and Dad weren't on the phone. That's what I remember. They weren't on the phone. So somebody would have told them somehow. So
Yeah. Did they come down and watch?
No, they didn't actually. Mum and so they were in Port Augusta, and because it all happened very quickly, and they wouldn't have had time to come down. So it was Friday at school, Adelaide Boys High. Then Saturday, it all began.
Can you remember much about the game? And that's a fair baptism of fire, isn't it, at Alberton?
Yeah, well, as a kid, I grew up always being a Port Adelaide supporter. As a kid, just like Port Adelaide, and actually 68 and 69 actually played in Port Adelaide's under-17s trials.
Oh, okay.
Ended up at West Adelaide, and I remember. I went there. I was on the bench for 3 quarters. Went on. I think Glenn Hewitt came off, and I went on and to the middle of the ground. And I think it was the first. Ian Berry was the ruck. It's the first and only time I think I've played what you call a ruck rover. And I remember Ian saying to me, "Stand there." And I stood there. We were going to the northern end. Next minute, the ball and he's tapped the ball straight into my lap. I've got the ball. I won't say exactly what I thought, but I thought I've got to get rid of this very quickly. So my first kick. And I threw it on my boot and kicked it. And then later on the quarter, I ended up going up the forward line, and there was Ron Ellaway there, and he was looking. I thought he was going to eat me. He looked at me. I thought, he's a fearsome man. And of course, that quarter, I think we got thrashed that day. Quarter, like something like 10 goals in the last quarter.
Yeah.
To our 1 goal, 2 or something, and really destroyed us. But it was fantastic to play against players that were your heroes. John Cahill and Spencer and all those sort of fellas, who were and Bobby Clayton, who were in that Port Adelaide side. So it was a wonderful feeling. And then I was thinking today, I think after that I don't really remember much. Or I remember next week we played Nord at Nord.
Yeah, Port Adelaide at Alberton. When we were calling together, they were just wonderful games. Was it as big a crowd? Because I think when we were calling it, the SANFL was still really big. But back then, was it really massive?
Yeah, that's another good. I really don't. I think it was a good crowd because West is in the late '60s were very competitive. They played in a couple of finals and whatever, and they I think they'd won a couple of games early, but Port Adelaide, at Albion, they always had good crowds and very parochial crowds at Port Adelaide. And I remember when the roar, the noise, and it was getting louder and louder because Port Adelaide, as I said, kicked 10 goals in that last quarter, and they were just having a great time, the supporters.
You mentioned a couple of the Port players. Can you remember the bowl? I don't want you to go through the entire side, but who were some of the Westies boys you were playing with?
The Port Adelaide players or the West Adelaide players?
West Adelaide, yeah.
The West Adelaide, obviously Robert Day was the captain. Robert Day, Jack Pannenberg, David Jones, Hallett Sheward, of course. Ian Verrier, Johnny Burkett. I still got a list here. I've got the program here. Bobby Loveday didn't play that day. Called Gary Wallace and
Gary Wallace. He went to North
Wallace and Farmer. There were two players that Murray brought across from Collingwood.
Oh, okay.
Robert Hooper, Frank Leonard. All the players that had come through West Adelaide, and all very, very good players for the club.
What can you remember anything about after the game?
Actually, I changed next to Robert Day. It's quite funny. He said, "You remember stuff," and he sat down. I kicked 1 goal, 1. I got a couple.
Did you really?
Yeah, kicked 1 goal, 1. That and so I sat down to Robert, and obviously after the game, we was a bit deflated. He got absolutely hammered in the last quarter, and Robert looked at me and he said, "Yeah, I reckon you were our best players today." Just being really nice. I've got the Sunday Mail. He was disappointed I wasn't the best players. That's the sort of thing. But I had no idea. I really didn't grasp what was going on and whatever. So it happened very, very quickly for me. And
What did you learn in the first couple of matches? Like what were some of the things that really stood out to you that you needed to learn, that you needed to master?
Well, I think positioning, but where to place yourself. But the second game we played Nord at Nord, and I stood well, I was in the forward pocket, and Don Roach, the late Don Roach, was actually in the back pocket.
Yeah.
He's looked at me and he said, I think he's gone, how good is this? He was running me all over the ground. It just, no idea. He was supposed to be checking me, but I was checking him. So, it taught me very quickly that you really had to be aware of what was going on in the game.
Yeah.
I played footy. I was 6'5", 6'6", and most of the time in junior grades and even in reserves, got my own way a bit. All of a sudden, I was being led a merry dance by a very experienced and very, very good player in Dom Roach. So you realise then, well, hang on, you really got to have your wits about you, know what's going on. So from that game, and once again we got beaten, and I think didn't touch the ball very often. So the following week we played North Adelaide at Richmond, and I was on the bench, and I actually didn't get a run. I was on the bench all day, and we actually won that game. I think I remember watching Barry and Rodney Robin in that North Adelaide side.
Wow.
And Westies won. So, but watching the game and thinking, look, how people. Ian Verrier, of course, was a very, very good player, state player. Watching how he went about his business around the ground, I thought, well, and then I didn't play for a couple of weeks because of the high scores. But Adelaide Boys High, they started playing football, and back then they played at the same time as the league, and we played against the colleges, and you had to play for your school. So all of a sudden, I was playing school footy and was out of the game for a while, but came back to the reserve. So it was very quick, very intense. But I certainly learnt things that playing league footy is no picnic, and you've got to really work hard at your game.
Were you fit? Would you regard
fitness? That's a very good question. Fitness. You wouldn't say I didn't do a big pre-season. I was young, so I had run on my legs. I had youth on my side, I suppose. I really took me a few years to get into the real hard pre-season training. And back then, of course, when we played in the 70s, a lot of the guys like Johnny Burkett, I think he played district cricket, and a lot of those guys would play, and they'd finish cricket one Saturday and be playing league footy the next Saturday. So, as I say to friends of mine all the time, I'd like to find the bloke who decided to start pre-season in October. Because I enjoy playing cricket and whatever, but obviously as time, and from 1970s through to 84, when I finished, things changed so much in football. The professionalism changed, the training regimes we started playing Friday football, Sunday football, and of course the wages and the television sponsorship. It's increased.
It was big, wasn't it?
A lot changed through the 70s. It's a very sort of exciting time and a great time of change through the 70s.
So when did Murray finish up at West Adelaide?
Murray, I think I had Murray 1970. That's a good question. I'm not quite sure I had him in 72 or not. I don't know. I think it was Murray, then Bob Keddy came, maybe 73, 72, 73, Bob Keddy.
Yeah.
And he was there for a couple of years and went to South Adelaide, and then Bob Loveday.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. Bob Loveday.
Yeah, Bob Loveday coached for a couple of years. And then in 1976 or 75, it might have been.
The guy who ran the sports store.
Pardon?
The guy who ran the sports store, he coached for a while.
Yeah, Bob Loveday. Hughes and Loveday. Trevor Hughes, who played, of course. And
Trevor, of course.
And Kim Dillon worked for him for quite a while.
That's right, yeah.
Which you will know, and you know Kim very well. So, and then Foster came, of course, I think in 75. And I think back 73, 74, 75, we finished bottom 3 years in a row. We were terribly good. And then Foster was there 5 years.
Is that when Dad was there?
Huh?
Is that when Keith, my father, was there?
Yes, correct. Yeah. I think Dad started around that in the middle. Yeah, Keith was, and all of a sudden, we've got a bit of a training regime, some pre-season, some structure around our pre-season training, and which your dad was very good at. And then, of course, Squire's gym, started going to the gym.
Yeah.
In particular, because I needed to put on some weight. Like the art of pump water, I was getting pushed around.
The old gym. Did you ever go into the steam room?
No. No.
Or into the spa.
That's a very, very interesting place.
or into the spa.
No. I was very, very frightened of those.
We don't need to say too much. We don't need to say too much. I'll just let my dog in. Only to say, come on, Jack, can you come? Only to say, You were very popular in there.
I remember, just a quick story. I remember one day I was upstairs training, and this bloke came up with a towel around him. And he sat at the other side. He was watching me. I'm thinking to myself, who is this bloke? His dad came up the stairs. He must have knew him by now, because his dad knew him all. You, get out. I said, just I was just about to sort of have something.
Look, for those who,
it's very funny.
For those who are, it's a bit of an in-joke, but for those who don't know, Dad ran the gym for 20 years, and look, I mean, I think I can say it. I mean, but it was, in the end, it was mainly gay.
Yeah.
But in those days, it was just starting to turn. But it was a legitimate gym. I mean, we had a steam room and a swimming pool.
That was great.
Anyway, back to reality. Although that was our reality at the time.
Yeah.
What about Foss?
Yeah, Foss was great. I really enjoyed. Foss was tough. He was like, he trained you hard, and there's lots and lots of things that went on back then. But we ended up playing a couple of finals. Behind you, in 1977, we got, which was the 100th year of the SANFL, we got beaten by Glenelg in the preliminary final. Who then when Port Adelaide lost to Port Adelaide in the grand final. So we became a competitive force, and what. So 78, we dropped away a little bit, and I think at 78, I actually went to Melbourne and came back later in the year, and then 79, I think Trevor Hughes took over.
Yeah,
a couple of years, and then Neil Curley came in.
And then Curls, yeah.
The rest, he took him to the 83 premiership.
Yeah, which you missed out on.
Yeah, I changed clubs, and you do things and you don't regret. Now I was very, very happy for those guys, because a lot of those guys, your Greg Summertons, your Peter Muretts, your Jeff Morris's, all those guys, Andy Bennett, they'd played in sides that were bottom sides.
Yeah.
And ended up playing in a winning premiership side. So it was fantastic for those guys.
Yeah. And then you went to Port.
Yes.
I want to talk about that in a second. So did you play under Curls?
I did. I played a couple of years under Curls, 81, 82, and also I played state footy under Curls as well.
I know you did. You played 10 games, didn't you, for the state? Yeah. We'll get to that in a second. So what was the difference between, because in a lot of ways you might put Foss and Curls in the same boat, but were they, I mean, obviously they were different, but how were they different?
It's a very, very, very good question.
Thank you.
Yeah. Curls, and both Foster, they were very, very demanding on their players. Very demanding, but fair.
Yeah.
They had their certain way, certain thoughts of the way football should be played. Now, Foster was very much getting numbers at the ball, and kicking to a contest, getting numbers at the ball, and outnumbering, and out positioning your opposition.
Yep.
And Curls was much the same, but Curls perhaps finesse is not the right, but maybe he had a bit more of a game plan and maybe used the players he had a bit better, or in a different way. But only because the game styles had changed. Nothing against Foss, I think he was, ahead of his time, as far as stats and keeping his training regimes and getting guys fit. But he was very demanding, and the players played for him, and that's the key thing I think for Foster and also Curls. Players played for him because they wanted to, not because they had to. And I think that's the key thing. They got inside, and I saw Jack Adey was the same at Sturt, good coaches. He had a group of players.
Well, they're good people. Most of them are good people.
And actually right. Curls and Foster was fantastic. Vaughn, the whole family, magnificent people. And Curls and Barb, really, really nice people as well.
Did you get on well with Curls?
A lot of people. There's a lot of conjecture about Curls, and I get on okay with Curls. I might not be Curls' favourite player or whatever. And Curls loves his premiership players and whatever, and which is fair enough. Maybe I wasn't the type of player that Curls like. I don't know. I've never really sat down and discussed it with him, and I've got the utmost respect for Neil Curley. He a wonderful coach, and he picked me in his state sides. He picked me to play. So obviously he thought I had something to offer for him.
Yeah. Can't ask for any more than that, can you?
No, exactly right.
Dex, so 10 state games. I mean, that's just wonderful.
Yeah, very fortunate. Yes.
Yeah, that's just wonderful. What do you remember about? Was there one moment? Was there when you first got selected? Was there a game? Was there an opponent? What do you remember about?
Well, we back then we only played in those 10 state games. Only played a couple against Victoria because we weren't playing Victoria that often. Then we played mainly against Western Australia, and of course, and there was a couple of carnivals and state of origin games and whatever. And Western Australia, the Ron Alexanders, the Stephen Michaels, had some magnificent ruckman, and there's some really, really good players. But I think that the game, I think it was 79, I think, when we beat them in Western Australia, beat them by 4 or 5 goals. That was a really big game for us because we used to normally beat them over here and they would beat us over there. It's very hard to win in Western Australia.
Yeah.
That particular game, I think, was a standout. It was just, and I think normally when you play a state game, a lot of guys come from different clubs. Sometimes, you play, but you don't gel that, you don't sort of become friends. But after that game, everybody was so excited. Such a great win. And I think a lot, we were just like, we were all teammates and we played together for a lot of years because everyone was very excited, very pleased. Curls is, sort of, beaming. It was just a very, very good win.
Have you got many friends who are past players?
That's a good question. Once again, my best friend is a fellow called Graham Robertson who came across to Westies from Richmond, and now he lives back in Melbourne. He lives in Melbourne, and as far as football, he's the player perhaps I keep in closest contact with. How about Shuar? No, good mates. No?
Yeah,
Billy, but we speak not. But Summers around the place all the time. But I wouldn't say, because when I finished playing footy, I was living in the hills. I was up at Mylor then. So all of a sudden, when I finished playing footy, I was in the hills. I used to work on the flat.
Yeah, you're away, yeah.
And all that. Went to school. And I made a whole group of new friends. But the West Adelaide Past Players Committee and shows are fantastic. And also the SNFL Past Player shows are really great. So whereas I wouldn't have real close friends, somebody I socialise with all the time, it's always great to catch up with those guys. When you see them, it's like you saw them yesterday, and you just continue on in a conversation. And you've been to you've compared West Adelaide Past Player, so you can see we're all pretty close.
Absolutely, yeah. There's a couple of them that that you'd like to get back. Bruce Stevenson, I think, was going back. Ray Hayes, I'm not sure whether.
Hayes and big David Gurney, he came back, and there's a few guys who come across, and the guys who run the committee, Bernie Conlon, Summo, he was there. All those sort of guys have fantastic. Taken over from Jimmy Wright and the wingman who passed away. Just I can't think of his name, but they'd run the past player shows for years and years. Then the younger guys came in, and Kenny Eglinton is the other guy I'm thinking of. They'd done a fantastic job running the past players show, and then spoke to as you said, and Summo's fantastic when he compares.
Greg's a lovely guy. He like you, Dad was very close to Greg, and also David Gurney, as you know. But Greg has he's a wonderful guy. Look, you're all good people. It's a great club. You look back, Dexter, are you genuinely proud of what you achieved?
I think so. I've always worked in the mantra. You play one game of league footy, you obviously got to be above average player and have a bit of luck. And every game after one's a bonus. And I had lots of bonuses. So, as I said right back, it all happened very quickly for me. I was a kid, a 14-year-old kid, running around Port Augusta. Incredible. All of a sudden, I'm thrown into Adelaide, big away from from home. And when I boarded at the Luke's, there was other boarders there. There was alcohol, there was smoking, and all sorts of things. And Jeannie and Donnie Luke were fantastic. They really looked after me. And their son Barry was fantastic. He played reserves footy for Westies, and I was exposed to a lot of stuff that I hadn't been exposed to before.
Yeah.
But the guy said before, I mentioned Howlett Shuard, and those sort of guys really took me under their wing and really looked after. Robbie Day was very good, and and I could have very easily, particularly when I had to go and play for school, could have very easily fallen through the cracks. as a kid, because the support back then wasn't there. But once again, Ginny Luke and Murray and those sort of guys kept me on track. I kept on turning up for training, you know, and things started to happen for me. Yeah, and of course Doug Thomas was around the place, and Doug did it. You know, the late Doug Thomas, unfortunately, Doug's he was, you know, he was harsh as well, but I had a lot of time for Doug because he looked after me, and you know, was always around the place if you needed to knock on his door in the office and chat to him. Didn't always tell you what you wanted to hear, but he's always open.
He was a straight shooter. I had to apologise to him. Dad made me apologise to him in his office to his face for a story that I did.
Yeah,
that was incorrect, and Dad was really annoyed with me, pissed off for upsetting him. This was
good on you for.
It's about 10 years ago. It was a really hard thing for me to do because he was always, you know, bigger than life, larger than life. And I got to say, he made me feel really good. He said, "Mate, I appreciate that. You did the wrong thing, but I really appreciate it." And, you know, that made Dad happy as well. Yeah. Actually, longer than 10 years ago because Dad's been gone 8 years.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Hey, Dexter, what, so just for those, what are you doing now? You look so fit. What are you, 55?
Yeah. Oh, I've sent you a check, mate. I turn 66 next month.
Oh, 66?
Yeah, I was born in 54.
Well, yeah, of course you couldn't be 55, otherwise you would have been 5 when you played your first game.
No, I'm very fortunate. I thank my mum and dad every day. You're
very lucky.
I've got good metabolism, you know, and so I'm a little bit lighter than I'm around 100 kilos. A little bit lighter when I played footy.
Yeah.
But I look after myself too. I go to the gym when the gyms are open a couple of times a week, and I eat reasonably well.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's you know, going to the gyms. Actually, you go back. A lot of guys remember Jones's gym off Anzac Highway.
Yeah, I do.
When I was boarding with the Tidgewells, I used to go across there because I had to, you know, because I was very fine, very light, and I had to put some body weight on because even though I could jump, it was all check side. Then, you know, the big fellas like the Rick Davies, the Peter Careys, I was no match for their body weight.
Yeah.
So I had to. So that's when I started going. I started going to gyms before blokes started going to gyms. Now every club's got a gymnasium in it. So, and you know, then I just go to Dad's gym, of course, and spend perhaps more time there than I should have. But
you never went into that. Just confirm. No. Never went into the steam room.
Never went into the steam room.
Good boy. Good boy. Are you a little saddened by the SANFL situation at the moment? In particular, West. I mean, West is a look. I hope they hang on, but you know, it's got pretty dire for them, hasn't it?
Yeah, I'm not overly close with the finance, but I get a general sense of goes on. Now, West is one of the fortunate. You know, they own their building. You know, they don't lease it from the council, from what I gather. But I'm not sure, but they may have restructured. So, yeah, the SANFL, you know, with the advent of the AFL, of course, the local clubs have struggled.
Yeah.
And when you're not successful, it makes even some clubs that are successful are really still struggling.
Central, for example.
Yeah, are struggling, and it is tough to try and get that sponsorship dollar, and also to compete against the country leagues. So a lot of these guys are playing leagues where they can go to the country and get paid almost twice as much, and they can get playing league footy, which is you know, it's good that the country leagues now have got a point system that's alleviates some of that, but. I suppose you need guys who play there that are looking for a pathway into the AFL. So you the young ones, and then they get drafted, which is good for the clubs monetary wise.
Of course, yeah.
But it doesn't help your playing stocks.
And how's the family? How are you going?
Fantastic, mate. My oldest girl is Tara. I've got a grandson who turns 10 this year.
Yeah.
Heath, my eldest boy, is 37. He and his wife. He lives in Mildura. Old in mid-June. Morgan, she's 35. She's my other daughter. She lives with her mother Kay. The kids are all well, mate. I'm very, very fortunate. I have all my children all doing well. The two girls are nurses, and Heath works. He's one of the managers at Kmart there in Mildura. So all doing well.
You look so well, mate, and
thank you.
When all of this is all of this stuff is fixed, we'll catch up. We might have
absolutely
have something to eat at the club. But look, well, I wanted to have a chat to you, and I'll post this. Hopefully, people.
I was not too boring for everybody.
You know, no, not at all. In fact, I did a little preview post on the SANFL groups, and they're all looking forward to it, Dexter. Even people who didn't follow Westies and Port, and you know, to be the youngest player, you know, to play league footy is just an extraordinary. It's still hard for me to comprehend. I mean, you know, I think you knew me when I was 15. I was just a boy.
Yeah.
I was just a boy. I didn't even know what I was doing. But you know, you're a good man. You're a wonderful player. You know, and I really enjoyed working with you at the ABC. We had a lot of fun calling the footy there. And you're a really good person, Dexter, and I really appreciate you having a chat to me, mate.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate you spending the time.